Happy New Year.
We ready? Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing for the invocation from Pastor Andy Egelhart from Trinity Lutheran Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, give you thanks for this year, for this special holiday season, but most of all, we ask that you bless our mayor, our council, all of our administrators, and all the residents here in Gloucester Township in the new year. May we receive your blessing, and may we continue to move forward as a community of love and connection for all who want to enjoy life. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
This meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. So we're requesting all those. We're using an electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record. And request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device to be still utilized by the Township Clerk's office and shall be for the preparation and the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Ms. Grace?
Here.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Here.
Mrs. Stubbs? Mrs. Winters?
Here.
Mr. Mignon?
Here.
Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Carlemere?
Here.
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Chief Harkins?
Here.
Mr. Chadwell?
Here.
We'll now go to our first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Anyone addressing the Wish Council may please raise your hand. Each individual has 3 minutes to speak. There's 15-minute time period for the first public portion. Again, this is for agenda items only. If you're looking to comment on the ordinances, there will be a separate hearing for that. And I ask you to use your comments during that hearing. Does anyone wish to speak during the public portion? Ms. Smithman. Yes, you may. Take your time.
Hello, good evening, Council.
Good
Happy
evening.
holidays, Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex. Millbrook Court, apartment 341. I was here a little earlier than the meeting began, and I was reviewing the ordinance for 022-24.
Ms. Smithman, you have comments on that ordinance?
Yeah, it shows that it was introduced on December 12th, 2022, but it doesn't have the date that it had been adopted.
There has to be a second reading. Tonight's the second reading.
And then the information will be placed on that ordinance.
What information? The information is the same that's on the sheets there.
Well, when I was reviewing it, it showed that it was the day it was introduced, but then the day that it was adopted, it was blank.
Once it's adopted, it will have the date of today.
Oh, you make the correction.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. Waive the reading and accept the minutes of special meeting November 8th, 2022 and November 21st, 2022. I entertain a motion.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignot?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes. Next, we have an ordinance, second reading. There will be a public hearing for ordinance 0-22-24. It's an ordinance amending chapter 60 of the code book of the Township of Gloucester entitled Hunting and Firearms. This amends in its entirety, chapter 60, article 2, known as firearms. Bear with me as I read through some of this. It's the discharge and possession of firearms. No person shall discharge any firearm upon or across any state, county, or township road or highway. No person except the owner or lessee of the property and persons specifically authorized by him in writing shall have in his possession a loaded gun while within 450 feet of any occupied dwelling in the Township of Gloucester, or while within 450 feet of a school playground. No person shall possess a firearm in any municipal-owned building or while on any municipal-owned property or grounds, except, however, one, if their law enforcement officer is authorized to carry a firearm while on or off duty. Two, any retired law enforcement officer who is authorized to carry a firearm under 18 U.S.C. 92(6)(c) Federal Law Enforcement Safety Act. Any private armored car service personnel who has an issued New Jersey pistol carry permit while performing authorized business. And any person who has been issued or is in possession of a written permission authorization issued by the Chief of Police of the Township of Gloucester. We'll now open up the public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I entertain a motion
Second?
on the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignot?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes. Next is ordinance 0-22-25, ordinance fixing the compensation of the officers and the employees of the Township of Gloucester and the County of Camden. This is effective for the calendar year 2023, effective January 1st, 2023, the salary and wages for the respective officer or employee title. We'll now open up the public portion. Mr. Polidoro. Mr. Polidoro, we run the clock. Each speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. After that time period, if you wish to come back up again, you may be able to come back up again.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidor from the historic village of Ariel.
Good evening, Ray.
On the salaries and the increases in range, who is it that drafts these ranges?
I would imagine they work with the Human Resources Director of Human Resources and also the BA, Mr. Cardis.
Okay, Mr. Carter is here, the Department of Human Resources. Are they here to answer any questions tonight?
She is not. She had a personal situation.
Okay, fair enough. In these ranges, does the cost of living and or inflation figure into these numbers when you stake these ranges for this coming year? How do you come up with the figures?
They're mainly surveying other municipalities and taking averages.
A little louder, please, I'm sorry.
They're mainly researching other townships for similar positions and then taking averages.
All right, is Pine Hill one of those towns?
I would doubt it.
Okay. In this, there's a few that everything looks fairly reasonable. I'm wondering if when these numbers are brought into consideration, is it the length of time? Is it just an annual increase because it's a change of calendar? Is there any merit that is involved when these folks get increases in these ranges?
Typically, everybody would get the same rate, which has been around 2 or 2.5%. There is not a merit system. As you know, there's 6 unions here. So,
Are any of the folks that are on this union labor?
No.
This is all management?
and not all non-union.
Okay, and you play a part in establishing these numbers as well as your own salary?
The range, yeah.
Okay. And it appears that within reason, there were 2 that were not just a little bit. I'm gonna need the glasses for this. One was a part-time clerk that seemed a little higher than the rest of them. Is there a desperate need for that we needed to make this appealing, or
Can you identify which part-time clerk? We have several that are listed here.
It's the one about 2/3 of the way down below stormwater management.
Clerk part-time with the 14,013 to 2732.
Okay.
Is that the one?
Yes,
So you think that's a little off?
just a little bit. And the other one that stuck out a little bit farther was the business administrator. I'm not a mathematician. I don't play one on TV, but it does appear that that is in about a 19% increase from the previous range. Is there a reason that that seems to be numerically higher than the rest?
Is the business administrator salary going up this year?
No, I'm at the same rate I was before.
But the range has gone up by that much. Now, when you guys, when we have asked this in the past, you guys basically stick to the template of it's a range. It doesn't mean anything. But if it's a range and you're constantly using range from year to year, why does the percentage need to go up? Why is it that it goes up and why is this one about 19%?
It's a range.
But you're getting ready-
It's
But you're getting ready to vote on that?
yeah, it's a range, but we're also, this is a range. These are not the actual salaries that are going into the budget. It's a range.
But the range
Yes.
went up dramatically with that position as opposed to all other positions. And again, the first questions that I asked, is it automatic? And does the range go up just because it's a housekeeping that we do that? Is there any merit involved? Because there are some, including myself, that may call into question if merit were the case. This surely would not be a good decision here.
But I want to make it clear, the business administrator salary is not going up. There's no plan on that.
Then why use a range? Why not? See, part of what we do when we come up here, even though you don't see it, it's about transparency and good government. You're bringing in ranges, but yet the percentages go up. So you say, this is what they're making, and it could be within that range. The next year, it goes up. And it's like taxes, I'm not tall enough to do where you guys have reached, but we know how that goes. Why not keep it the same? Why raise it? And why is this one so much higher?
If the salary for the business administrator does go up, does council have a say in that current?
But now you're increasing that. Why not just put a number down, or why not leave the range the same? According to what this is, and no one has disputed what I've said, maybe you want to amend that back down to where it belongs?
Fine with it.
But every other year, the job performance of that position is poor.
Well, that's your. but
No,
that's-
that's actually facts.
That's fine. I'm not gonna debate that.
People of this township know that in every even numbered year, our taxes go up almost an average of 10%.
Mr. Polidoro, thank you very much.
I'll be back.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Krug?
Evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. Hope everyone had a nice holiday and has a happy new year.
The same to you.
Because there was a bit of ambiguity with regards to the maximum on the salary range at the last meeting, I had put in a request with council to ask the administration for additional details on the methodology used to reach that maximum range. Did the administration get back? I guess, was that request put forth to the administration, and did the administration get back with those details?
Paul, did you send that to me via email?
No, I did not. I made the request here.
Oh, okay. No, I have not had that discussion with administration.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Would the business administrator be able to shine any more light on the details of the methodology used to get the maximum range?
I think he explained that at the last meeting. He reiterated the same thing he said at the last meeting, just to Mr. Polidoro.
Okay, just explained it to Ray Powell.
That it is an average of some set of townships that surround us.
Correct.
Okay.
Comparable townships,
Concom,
have to be comparable.
to be Cherry Hill. No, Washington Township was one of them. I don't have the list that Carla used. She did the legwork on that.
And how is what data feeds are being used to, I guess, get that information?
How is she getting it? I would imagine by phone.
Oh, she's calling up the township administration offices of each of these townships?
That or probably clerk's office or HR if they have an HR.
That information is available online as well. APP Data Universe, a lot of people use to take a look at public official salaries or administrator salaries. Very easy to obtain that information.
So I guess my only concern here is that when you look at data analysis, and I'm sure we all see this, you can probably look at whatever news source you tend to go to. Data can be manipulated in certain ways, depending, you only get a good output if there's good input, right? So if you pick the three comparable townships with the highest range, then ultimately you are going to have the highest range. So does that give you a clear indication maybe of the entirety of South Jersey or the entirety of New Jersey average? We don't know. That's why I was asking for the more exacting details as to how we're getting to that number, because the data going in matters. I would think that council would want to see that, given the fact that there are significant increases in the maximum range for some of these job list items. I hope that we get an answer on that.
My position on that is this top of the range is what they want to put in. That's the basic. If you're gonna do an analysis and you come up with that top of the range, that's fine. But if I've got control over what that salary is, I would agree with you. You're going to have to make a presentation to me to justify an increase to the upper amount. That's when I'm gonna hold them to that standard, if not higher.
But won't that range in some way, shape, or form allow for negotiation to a higher salary potentially? Because you are opening up that gate to that higher range, right?
Okay, well, I can't say no. I can't say no to that the door has not been opened throughout the range. Okay, I agree with you on that. However, you're gonna have to justify going beyond where you are, which is why I asked the question twice tonight. Okay. Is there any contemplation? The answer was no twice. Okay. So if there's a change in something, I'm gonna be suspect.
So may I ask this question then? How many hiring decisions with regard to salary has council been intimately involved in when the range of their salary has been considered too high? I imagine, and I don't mean to speak for you, but I imagine not many, because that's part of the responsibility of the business administration and the mayoral office.
About 10 years ago, now this is on what to bring up, but about 10 years ago, there was a suggestion that we should increase one of the salaries. I forget whose salary was, whether it was the clerk, the assessor. But I was reluctant to increase that salary because it had a ripple effect in other positions. Okay, so we do get involved in that. Okay, it's happened. I don't know if that addresses specifically your question.
Well, I just imagine you would need to have eyes on almost constantly throughout the year in the hiring process in order to achieve what you're talking about, which is a case by case analysis, as opposed to covering it in bulk right now, saying we don't wish to increase the maximum. That way, no one can get, that 19% more in 2023. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can do it in bulk here as opposed to a case by case basis throughout 2023, needing to look over the salary negotiations of each employee coming in or that's already within the organization.
Yeah, we have to wrap up, Mr. Krug. If we have You can come back up again if we don't have any other speakers.
Okay.
Anyone else wish to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Sweet?
Good evening, council. Sam Sweet from Ariel.
Good evening, Sam.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. as well.
I apologize for coming in a little late. I might have missed this.
That's okay.
What was so the township attorney last year, I know it's a range, and I know that you guys aren't making the max, but the maximum salary was 125,663 last year. This year it's 125,750. It's a $120 increase, so it's like less than 1%. Township clerk goes from 133,312 to 137,137. Again, $4,000. Town director of public works doesn't increase. 125,663, same salary. Director of community services goes from 71,027 to 72,119. But public administrator, the township administrator goes from 169 to 202. Now, from what I heard, you guys are saying that it's a range. You're taking in several of the outlying, Cherry Hill, Washington Township, what they're being paid, and coming up with that number. Is that correct first? Did I understand that?
Well, that's what the administration had told us, along with the
Okay.
human resources manager.
So my first question is, you're telling me that if I go and look at all the other towns, that they went up about 40 or about 25% for the township administrator as
I'm not
opposed to,
telling you that they went up 25%. I'm telling you that what the administration has done, along with the HR managers, took a look at surrounding municipalities of comparable sizes and establishing these ranges.
and we didn't do that in the past.
No, that's.
So are we saying that he's being underpaid then?
I'm not saying that he's underpaid, it provided
Well,
a range. But
Mike,
let me just respond to that, okay? You have an individual who's been an employee in this township for 34, 33 years. That amount of experience, I would imagine if we brought in a new individual in this particular role, that range would be closer to that number that we're seeing on the top end there for a business administrator,
okay,
who's also the QPA for the municipality, who also oversees public works.
okay. How long has Mr. Carlin been an township attorney?
Mr. Carlin, how long have you been?
Since 92 as attorney, 82 while I was on council.
So 30 to 40 years, we could say?
30 years as our solicitor.
So the same length as Mr. Cardis. But yet his salary range is only going, the top end salary is going from, $120. Is the township attorney not as valued as the,
No, no one's saying that.
well, according to the salary increase, it is. I'm just wondering again, why the salary increase goes from 169 max to 202.
Don't say salaries.
What's that?
Salary range.
Salary range, the top end salary range goes from 169 to 202, when the township attorney only goes up $112 to top of the range. Why is that? You're saying that you went to other towns. Now, if you went to those other towns and you did that last year, then they were 169. That's the average range. That's what you just said. You said you did this last year, correct?
The human resources manager goes out and surveys municipalities comparable to our size. You can say you. I did not do this. Council did not. do
When I
this,
say you, I
okay?
mean council or
Okay.
somebody.
No,
in
no,
the
we don't
administration.
call up and say, okay, what are you making, Cherry Hill? We don't do that. Okay, the human resource manager and the administration with the VA puts together the salary guide and presents it to us.
So can we get a listing of those towns that we compared them to? Because if you compared them last year, is what you said, then those average would be 169 roughly, or thereabouts. Now you're saying that everybody else's township administrator was 202 on an average, which is a 25% increase, when nobody else is being increased
Sam,
25%.
I'm not saying it's 202. Saying
That's what,
comparable. Okay,
that's what the top
comparable.
end maximum salary is.
Dan,
That's the maximum salary range, correct?
the range is 202.
All right.
Goes up to 202.
And that range is being derived from comparable towns. Last year, that range, top end, was being derived from comparable towns. So hence, all the comparable towns, unless you pick different comparable towns last year to this year, they're all underpaying the township administrator.
Tom, do we, every year, we do this type of analysis?
Yes.
So, Dave, what do you think Cherry Hill's solicitor?
I would think Cherry Hill solicitor is probably, and I'm just guessing, higher than our average.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, just.
In a full-time capacity too, correct?
They're there more as a, different capacity as to what that. But let me say this, just from experience that I've had, prior years as member of council through the eighties and township attorney. You never know when you're gonna have to change, a position, business administrator, township attorney, and other attorneys and other business administrators kind of are always out there searching for different towns to change, if there's a change coming in. So you set a range where you can attract somebody that has high qualities to come in. Not that you're gonna pay that, but you have to have a range so that they say, well, I'm looking to change a position. Your business administrator is retiring, or unforeseen thing has happened in life that's going to change. You want to know that you can attract other individuals to come to look at your town, to say, I have these qualifications, 30 years experience in my town. I'm looking to come in your town as business administrator. You're looking for an administrator. You're looking for an attorney or township clerk, but your range is not going to satisfy me, because your range is too low. So you want a range that makes you competitive, that you can get somebody with high quality to serve your town. That's what we used to look at it when I was on as council person and over the years.
We're one of the biggest towns in Camden County. We're one of the biggest towns in South Jersey. And I'm telling you, Sam, the business administrator has mentioned twice that he's not getting an increase in salary. So I know that you want to make this a big issue. I know that, Sam.
It's not a big issue. I'm not trying to make it a big issue. I'm trying to get an answer as to why Mr. Carlemer's maximum salary.
He's not asking for an increase in his range.
Okay, it doesn't matter whether anybody's asking for an increase. The ability is there that Mr. Curtis could bump up. I know he's not getting one. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying there's some conspiracy theory behind it. Okay, I'm just wondering why Mr. Carlemer's salary is only being maximum salary range, potential salary is only going up $112, when Mr. Curtis's salary range is going up $40,000, potential salary range top.
I would suggest.
And I'm not getting an answer.
Well, I would suggest to you that, Mr. Carlemer, you're not full-time, right?
I'm not required, now, the difference between myself and the attorney, we all understand, that person is required to be in that office, so many hours, and plus attending meetings. I don't have that requirement. I have one person staff. I think Cherry Hill has several individuals in the Department of Law that their attorney oversees. So that office runs a little bit different than we run it here. Hopefully, I think everyone agrees we run the Department of Law very good.
Yeah.
Is the
Thank
CFO
you.
full-time?
Mr. Sweet, your time is up.
Can I come back?
If we have, yes.
Thank you.
No one else wants to speak, you could, anyone wishing to speak that has not spoken yet on this matter. Sam, come back up. Oh, hold on, Mr. Polidor raised his hand. He made you walk back.
Got that look in your eye, right?
Ray Polidor from Historic Village of Ariel, to continue what I was speaking on. So you checked with other comparable towns. Did those other towns also have 5 tax increases in the last 8 years? Well, you should if you checked the other towns. You checked their salaries, but did you check and see if they raised taxes the way that we did? That's what comparable means to people to pay taxes. We've had, in the last 5 even numbered years, we've had tax increases of almost 10%. If we want to compare apples to apples, we're looking for towns that did to their people what you guys did to us.
This
Now-
is your time to do what you're gonna do, so this is not a give and take, right?
You guys are voting on this tonight, and you're okay with somebody getting a substantial increase in the range. Okay, it's a substantial, the cost of living goes up, but when you do this and you add to the tax base, our cost of living goes up because of everybody's entitled to a fair salary and a fair increase.
So just so I understand, this is not, you're not asking me a question. This is your opportunity to.
If you're calling me showboat, then that's not correct.
Okay, well, is there a question?
You're the showboater, not me.
You asked me a question.
Can we stick to the topic, please?
Thank you. Okay, so we don't know the towns, and really, I think it would be appropriate to table this until the HR director could be here to answer on questions. But if not, at this time, I'd like to ask if the CFO also had the equal amount of input into the salary to administration.
Ms. Eric?
I was not a part of the salary ordinance preparation.
Thank you. So it was Mr. Cardis and the administrator, actually, and the HR director that decided on his range, correct? Don't look at
Yep.
They're handing
Excuse
that,
me?
they're handing that to
Excuse me,
you.
hold on.
You're handing that to
What are
you.
you telling me not to do? No, Ray. We're not gonna do
You-
this.
You
We're
are
not
the
gonna do
president
this.
of
We're not
council.
gonna
This
do
is
this.
council.
Ray, lower your voice.
This is council, and you should know
Lower your
this.
voice,
You should know this.
okay? This is provided to us on an annual basis. It is a range. What you're trying to do here is confuse individuals thinking that this individual is getting a 19% increase in pay.
No,
Okay, it's
no,
not
no.
happening. It's a range.
Mr.
I'm gonna tell you something. Okay, so what I do during the day, we're looking for an administrator on what I do during the day. I reposted a position 3 times to look for a business administrator to run our local K-8 school district. And we have interviewed individuals, and we talk about a range. And we have someone who left that position, and then people who are trying to fill that position. When the people are trying to fill that position, they're looking at what the last person made. And they're saying, okay, I have this amount of experience and I should be compensated at this amount.
May I?
No, I'm gonna keep running that clock, okay?
Then let me
No,
speak.
because here's the thing, okay? You wanna make it a Q&A and back and forth. If you got 5 minutes, just speak for 5 minutes if you just wanna comment.
No,
But you know, you want to ask questions.
There are also questions
No,
that I
Ray,
want
you wanna
answered,
ask
and you're looking at the
questions.
business
You wanna ask
administrator.
questions, you wanna throw digs in there, you want.
You can
talk
sit
about
here
how
and eat
small
that
and
clock
tall
up
you
all
are.
you want, Mr.
That's
Mercado.
fine. I know
That's
you're gonna
what you're
come
known
back up.
for.
I know you're
That's
gonna
what
come
you're
back
known
up.
for.
So it is a range. Stop trying to confuse
And that is
people.
what the
Mr.
HR
Cardis is not
director.
receiving a 19% increase. It is a range.
Are you done?
Are you done?
No. So Mr. Cardis and the HR director decided
They
on
provide
his
this to
range.
council. This range is submitted to council.
And it was
The
handed down
council
to
will then
council
vote on this.
where you were entitled to make a decision based on what the administration is handing down. And that's not something you guys do. You've never said no to anything the administration handed down. I just call into question that Mr. Cardis, the business administrator, nothing personal, Tom, decided on his own range along with the HR director. Unfortunately, the HR director's not here to answer for herself. For us to get any input,
No, we went over this with the mayor. The mayor was involved in this, so let's not leave him out of the equation. We'd never put anything on here or have the HR person put anything on it that the mayor did not review.
okay, and as Mr. Mercado stated, did you ask for this, this range to be increased by this much?
Yes,
And you think you've done that good a job that it warrants that kind of number?
I told you, I'm not getting a raise.
Then why don't you adjust the document to indicate that the range is gonna be down where he's at? That's what transparency is. That's what we're asking for. No, you're okay with that. That's a problem. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a safe and healthy one. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Sorry to point at you.
No, that's okay. My name is Roxanne Briggs and I live at 5 Lockascotta. And I have a question regarding the range. You were looking for someone to fill a position. Were you able to fill that position with the salary range that was available? Because it's impossible to hire today.
Are you talking about what my daytime job is?
Well, if you were looking for a job, was it an administrator at the school?
Yeah, it's been difficult.
Yes.
You're trying to hire someone mid-year,
Yes.
Again, this salary information, you can go on APP Data Universe and take a look at any public employee's salary. Take a look, for instance, I'll give you an example, Mr. Cars. Mr. Cars, you've been here since 1989, is that correct? He just turned 60 at the beginning of December. Mr. Cars could leave tomorrow and retire. Mr. Cars oversees public works. Mr. Cars has a QPA, that means the purchasing agent for the town as well. He has institutional knowledge, has been here for many years and experience. And despite what people try to disparage him or throw some rocks at him, okay, I think he's provided a good service to our community and to our township. So trying to replace someone with those qualities would be difficult. And so I'm comfortable with this range, but yes, it's difficult because people are taking a look at the marketplace, what other folks are making. When they talk about comparable sizes, I'll give you an example. There's someone who works on a $9 million budget for a school district, and they're saying, why make this amount of money? No, the budget for the local school district, K through 8, is a $150 million budget with 1,300 employees. It's a different animal. So, we have people from North Jersey that applied that are making over $200,000 as a business administrator for a school district. That's half the size of our school district.
Yes, and my point is, 5 years ago, I was hired at a law firm in Philadelphia. I knew the lawyers, they opened a new office, and the salary range was quite higher than the average because they couldn't hire anyone. I took the job, I'm with lawyers I've known for 20 years, but the range, it's just crazy today. It is crazy today when you're trying to replace a person. It's almost even your highest salary isn't high enough. But that's just the point I wanted to make.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Briggs. Anyone else who hasn't spoken that would like to speak? Ms. Coyne.
Good evening. Ray did not confuse me. I understand that this is a range, but logically speaking, if you do this every year and you base this on average ranges from comparable townships, are you saying that the other townships increased their BA's salary range by 25%?
No, we're not saying that.
Well, then how does that logically make sense?
I don't think it's been done every year in this particular position.
Well, it was done recently. I think when James Grandremo was hired.
I think we're talking about this particular position.
No, I'm talking about overall.
Okay.
We're being told that overall, the salary ranges are based on comparable other townships' average salary ranges for the same positions. So if that's the case, then other townships must have also increased their BA ranges by over 20%.
We're talking about the BA specific now again, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think, correct, have we adjusted this particular salary, this particular position every single year for the last 20 years?
I don't recall.
I'm gonna venture to say that's not the case.
Okay, well, even if it's not the case, still, if you're basing it based on other townships' salary ranges for the same position, comparable townships, have they increased their BA salary range 25%? Well, then what you're saying doesn't make sense. How you're figuring it out doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
How?
Because we didn't, as I just indicated, I don't believe we have adjusted this particular position each year over the past 20 years.
Doesn't matter if it was each year or not.
It does.
It was just recently increased when James Grandremo was hired. That was not that long ago. No, that was everybody's salaries were adjusted because he was hired at a higher rate, so everybody's salary had to be adjusted. I remember that being said.
You need to find who everybody is.
All the salary ranges had to be
He triggers
increased.
off.
What she's talking
For a
about,
position.
It's the clerk,
New Jersey, the clerk,
tax collector.
the CFO, and the assessor all have to make.
If you're not, then this particular position we're talking about, BA, is not
Not part of it.
for.
Not part of it.
Just want to make sure, Denise, because a lot of times when you say something, you say with a lot of conviction, but you're 100% wrong.
That I'm asking questions to get answers from people who are supposed to know the correct answer. I'm not saying I know the answer. If I knew, I wouldn't be asking the question.
Okay, well, our track record is this. Sometimes you say things and it's totally wrong. And what you had said was Jim Grandrimo's position is increase triggered an increase in everybody. And that's not the case. It only triggered 4 people.
That's fine. Correct me.
They did.
Okay, so what's the issue?
I don't know, you tell me.
The issue is every time I have a question, you have a problem with it. And that's your problem because as a public servant, it's your job to answer my questions.
Can we go back to
So
the
I
ordinance, Ms. Coyne?
apologize if you have an issue with it, but that's a shame.
Can we go back to the ordinance, Ms. Coyne? Do you have any other comments?
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak that has not spoken yet? Mr. Krug and Mr. Sweet, and then we'll wrap it up. And if this is, you're adding to what you said earlier, correct? Not repeating.
That's correct. We were
Okay,
in the midst of
let's
the
establish that.
conversation, and then time was up. Dan, I think why this is a big deal is because of what we were speaking about, which is that, at least from my perspective, this would seem to be where council is able to instate the highest possible salary for a township employee, as opposed to looking at one-on-one cases throughout the year, which is certainly more suited for the mayor's office or the administration's office. So that's why I do think this is a big deal. I'm less concerned about the salary maximum increase because honestly, I've come to expect it. I expect the budget to go up. I expect the home-owning citizen of Gloucester Township to be taxed more. There's a 20-year history of it. So we can leave that to the side, fully expect a yes vote across the board this evening for this. What I'm interested in is what is council receiving and how are they able to make a decision for a vote this evening? If I was sitting up there, I would likely want to see this data of the surrounding township salary ranges, let's say going back at least 5 years with one outlier removed in case there was a significant increase or decrease in that salary so that I could get an accurate portrayal of the average salary for that job listing. If I may, Ms. Winters, did you see data like that in order for you to make your decision this evening? Did not.
I can help answer that question. I looked at another township and on average, the range was, lowest was 152 to an average of 204. Individual salary will of course vary depending on job, department location, as well as individual skills and education of each employee. So we're not doing anything different than a township next to us. So I looked it up.
For one township?
I looked several up. So
On
I'm just
your
reading
own, this
what-
wasn't the data provided, correct?
This data. I'm just going to provide to you what I've read.
That was in your own time for the decision tonight?
Yes.
But you didn't receive any data from the mayor's office or the administration to look at, correct?
Just looking it up. I mean, if I'm going to be on council and I'm making decisions, it is my job to look up information.
And
Sure,
we also
but
have
once-
the ability to ask questions of anyone up here. And we have that ability every single day. And when we read our resolution packet and we look at the backup data, that's when we ask our questions so that when we get up here, we've done our homework, we understand what's happening, and we understand the reasoning why certain things happen. And you need to understand that if you can, please, because we don't just sit up here and say yes. We sit and we look at everything because our name is on the line and we want to make sure that our reputations individually and as a group stay positive. Because we live here too. We pay
Sure.
taxes too. You know, so we want to make sure that everything's copacetic. And as far as I'm concerned, all the history that I've done with all of this, everything is fine. And ranges, I've negotiated a lot of contracts as union president over the years. And I've also negotiated with administrators over the years. And ranges are normal, they're quite normal, and some do go up. But that doesn't mean that that salary is gonna go up. And Mr. Cardis said he has not had a raise.
I not once
And I just
tonight
wanted to
have zoned
confirm
in
that.
on Mr. Cardis. That has not been me.
Yeah,
My
I
question has
see
been
this give and
specific to
take,
the
and it
top of the
seems so
range.
negative, and I'm hoping we can
Sure.
understand this and be a little more positive with
Well, if
each
you
other.
could separate
We're
me
all
from
on the
everyone
same
else,
team.
that would be
We
appreciated.
are all on the same team, please.
So you said you received a packet of data. But my understanding is that the data council has not received the data that was used by the HR and business administrator.
We have the backup data to all the resolutions so that we know how to ask questions. And then we ask our questions, yes.
In fact, well,
Okay.
Tom, I called you. Didn't I? We figured it was Tuesday. Tuesday or Wednesday. And I specifically asked him about this ordinance. And I asked about the transfers. Okay. So
We didn't have the transfers in there
Right.
because we had to wait for the last payroll, which was just done.
each person does their own due diligence. Okay, but at the end of the day, where council can weigh in significantly is, are we going to permit the individual to get a raise? You know, so if the administration wants to put a salary range together based upon their own independent data, if it stays within what we feel is appropriate, we're fine.
Don't you want to see that data, I guess, is the basis of my question, how they got to that number?
For a range, okay?
For a range, I continue to talk about the maximum range.
So, who is the director of the Department of Community Services? Vince?
Vince.
Who is the director of
Community
Public
Development.
Works? Who's the director?
There's no,
There's no, and that range is what? Up to 125,000? So who's fulfilling the responsibilities of the director of Public Works?
I have as business.
You have.
Mr. Cardis.
So you're saving this town $125,000 because we're relying upon you to do two jobs. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So,
Well, that's the top of scale, Dan. That's the maximum. scale.
okay, but my point is, Paul, you can't look at things just in a vacuum like that. You gotta know a little bit more about what's going on. This man is doing more jobs than one.
I'm fairly certain he's getting paid for that as well, but
Mr. Krug, I want you to finish up your sentence, and then we're gonna go to Mr. Sweet, okay?
okay, just on Ms. Grace's point, by only looking at one data point, you could easily say that there's significant data bias there. I'll point that out. I would say without taking a look at the data inputs, it would be very hard for me at least to make a decision on whether or not what's being put forth in these salary ranges is reasonable. I don't know how you could possibly vote without looking at the data compiled by the administration and the HR. I just, it's operating blindly in my opinion.
Well, thank you. Mr. Sweet? Mr. Sweet, you'll be our last speaker on this.
Someone else wants to speak, correct?
Oh, you're running the meeting now, Mr. Sweet?
No, I'm just asking, I'm asking the
And
question.
again, I'm asking you to add,
I
if
am
you're
at-
adding to your previous comments.
I
and not
have a couple
repeating.
questions on what was said.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Cardis is getting paid for the Director of Public Works. You said he's saving this township $125,000, but he is getting paid for that, so it's not.
How much? Please.
Mr. Cardis, how much are you getting paid for the Director of Public Works?
Sam, you're stating a fact. How much is he getting paid?
Approximately, I think it's about $50,000, but Mr. Cardis, can it,
Less than that.
Okay, what's the upper?
what's that?
It's less than that.
Okay, what is it?
I believe it's 40 to 35.
What's the upper salary?
Okay, the upper salary is 125, that's not saving the township.
You're
All I'm pointing out is that you said he's saving this township $125,000 by taking on 2 jobs. He's not saving the township $125,000, he's saving it $80,000.
All right, let's put salary and benefits in there, so we'll make it 125.
Right.
Because if you took benefits, if we had a public works director, that benefit package would be about $35,000-$40,000. So let's call it even.
Let's
That's
not,
it.
let's get
Why
actual
not?
numbers.
Why
Because I
not?
believe he's getting paid $45,000, not $35,000,
All right,
$40,000.
Sam, please
Okay.
continue.
Ms. Grace, she stated that she looked at towns. What towns did she look at?
I don't know. Ask Ms. Grace.
Washington Township, Cherry Hill,
I'm sorry, what?
Washington Township, Cherry Hill. And I've also looked at like the national average, which is higher.
The national average, actually, if you go on to salary.com, is about 75,000. And I'm not saying that that's correct, but they're usually about 20% off. 20% of 75,000 for the average is going to be about 90. But that's taken into account, smaller towns like Pine Hill, Hynella, and I get that. So I'm not saying that. I'm just going to go back to something Mr. Carlimer said. Mr. Carlimer said, and Mr. Hutchinson also said that he's part-time. So is our CFO full-time or part-time?
She's full-time.
So if she's full-time, why is her maximum salary range not going up? That's all I'm asking is why is he the only salary range that's going up 20%, 25%? Because in theory, yes, I understand that he is not taking a salary increase this year. But in theory, next year, he could go up to 202, 395, correct?
I don't anticipate him receiving a 19% increase.
But in theory, could he do that? Yes or no?
I'm not dealing with in theory.
I'm asking, it's a question.
I'm dealing with actualities, okay?
But so the answer is yes. In
No,
theory,
no, I'm not saying yes. So if
It's
you
a
came
simple
up
yes
here,
or no.
Mr. Sweet, if you came up here, Mr. Sweet, and your comments were about a 19% increase in his salary, you have very valid reason to come up here and stomp your feet and talk.
I'm not stomping my feet. I'm
Okay.
asking a question.
But here you go. Let me finish.
Well, you didn't let me finish, but okay.
You know what? You have a 148. You can take up the rest of your time.
But I'll answer.
I'm not going to do a Q&A with you.
But I'm gonna answer your
I'm
question.
not.
In theory, which you probably shouldn't answer a question like that, but in theory, the only answer is yes.
Okay, so why is his salary going up that percentage in theory when other full-time people are not?
Because I don't have a problem with that salary, because as Mr. Carlier said, if you try to replace Mr. Cardis, I don't know if 202 gets it. I don't know if you get competency refilling that position at less than that. I don't.
Okay, now that's an answer, Mr. Hutchinson. Why couldn't that have been said 20 minutes ago? That's a legitimate answer. I know you and I go back and forth on this, but that is a legitimate answer. That you don't know whether it's going to get it if Mr. Cardis decides to retire.
Didn't I say that about 10 minutes ago?
You said
I
he
said
may
that
retire.
his years
You
of
said he may
experience,
retire,
if he left,
but you
if
won't
he
answer.
left- Okay.
I thought you weren't going to interrupt me, Mr. Mercado.
Sam, I was told by.
Don't be winking at me, Sam.
I go to school at St. John's, right? And I'm with a bunch of young women. And they're in this master's of law. And they ask me all the time, James, why don't you go to work? You can save so much money and you don't even have to go into the office. Things have changed. Things have really changed. And I don't think we can replace Mr. Carlin at the salary range that he has. right
So then
now.
why is his salary not
I don't
range
know,
increasing?
but, you
Not that I-
understand, council has been given this salary. Okay, this is what we're voting. I am an attorney. I'm telling you, I can't get his competency level, Mr. Carter, for 125. And I know that might sound crazy to people in the audience, but I'm telling you the truth. You can't get it.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Thank you, Mr. Sweet. Now close the hearing.
Actually, isn't there unlimited time, Mr. Mercado? So if nobody else wants to speak, can I just,
So you're going to add more to something different than what you've already said?
yes,
Okay,
if that's the case.
sure. You have another 5 minutes then.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify a point that I realize that this may have not been done in the past, looking at it, but Mr. Cardis had said that he looked at it last year, those surrounding towns last year. So if he looked at the surrounding towns last year and came up with that salary range of 169, which according to you, he might not be able to replace him. Now, this year it's 202. If we look at the surrounding towns, then unless you're looking at different surrounding towns, you're comparing apples to oranges. If you look at the same surrounding towns, they're fine. So then can we get a list of the surrounding towns that Mr. Cardis and the HR director looked at to come up with that range?
I can make that request.
Okay.
Sam, you can look at that tonight.
Yes.
Do we have that information then?
No, I can make that request of what Ms.
Hutchinson
Jeppy,
just said-
no, I'm speaking here. What Ms. Jeppy, what she researched, I can make that request and forward that information to you. Anything else?
Mr. Hutchinson just said that he can get me that
Can you let
information
Mr.
tonight.
Sweet continue? No, that's if you go online and look at look at budgets, take a look at what they're getting paid, go on APP Data Universe.
I don't.
Is there
understand
anything
why.
else?
I'm a bit confused as to,
I'm not confused, Sam. I said, you and I, we've spoken in the parking lot for an hour after a meeting. We could look online, you and I, and quickly look at Cherry Hill. We could easily do it, okay? And I'm gonna venture to say Cherry Hill is at or above that number.
not disagreeing with you. I just want to know what you compared. So just to be clear, Mr. Mercado, my
Yes,
request is
I'm clear.
for 2022 and 2021.
Oh, 21 as well, okay.
Yes, please, because that's what Mr. Cardis, I believe, said that he did this in 21.
If they retain, I don't know, I don't know who's being followed, but if you guys are, doing a quick look or you're making a phone call, I don't know if she memorializes those numbers.
I don't recall saying 21.
We could go back to the video.
Just, well, whatever it is.
We'll make that request.
If you made a mistake in speaking, that's fine, because God knows, I make lots of mistakes. But if you look, if Carla keeps contemporaneous notes, I don't want notes that are over paid, but contemporaneous notes.
And one final question. The BA position that you're looking for, is it part-time or full-time?
Full-time.
Thank you.
Well, that will close up Ms. Coyne. Before Ms. Coyne gets up here, does anyone who would like to speak that has not spoken beforehand? Ms. Coyne, I'm reminding you, to not repeat your comments, only if you're adding to what you previously stated beforehand.
I think I recall during the budget hearing, Mr. Cardis said Cherry Hill had a $30 million surplus. Is that correct?
The last I looked at their audit, they did.
And what is Gloucester Township's current surplus?
I'd have to defer to the CFO.
I don't have that number with me today.
Okay, so about 3 million.
About 3 million, maybe.
What's the prior year?
Let's not guess, let's just get the actual number, please.
Okay, so somewhere around 3 million. So I know in a business world, companies that are cash rich and make a lot of money tend to pay their employees more than companies that are broke. So is that not true in the world of municipal government?
That is not true.
Okay, so even if the township is broke, they're going to put a salary range out there that is top of the range.
Denise,
I mean, don't you have to,
the responsibilities of the business administrator in a town of this size, there are 566 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. This township happens to be one of the largest municipalities in the state.
I understand that.
The job responsibilities of that position are significant.
I understand that as well, but I also understand we have a $3 million surplus and Cherry Hill has a $30 million surplus. So it's kind of hard to say we're comparable when they're cash rich and we're cash poor.
Why they have a surplus?
Yes, I know why.
Why?
I heard it and overheard it in the Cardis meeting.
What do you think?
So what do I think?
What do you think is the genesis of their surplus?
They overtax their residents.
I'm not answering it, but you know it, right? You're
Yes.
saying they overtax their residents.
That's what Mr. Carter said, yes,
No, that-
When did he say that?
I'm asking you.
in the budget meeting,
You said the Cardis meeting. What is that?
the April 25th budget meeting.
So you're not telling us you believe, you're saying based on what you think you heard somebody say, that's why they have surplus.
No, I'm basing it on what I heard.
That's what I just said.
That's not what I think I heard, what I heard.
Where was I when you heard that?
You were in the meeting,
Where?
in the mayor's office.
And you were in the mayor's office?
No, I was sitting right there.
Oh, when you illegally recorded.
And what you actually said
I
was,
wasn't in the mayor's office. I was in the
somebody-
conference.
That's the meeting that Ms. Coyne recorded?
I thought that was the
You
mayor.
were not part of that meeting, Ms. Coyne, correct?
Which is illegal.
What,
You were not part of that meeting?
what did you just say?
That's the meeting you illegally recorded?
That you think I recorded?
Okay, all right, okay.
I never said I recorded.
All right.
Is your position
Those are
that-
your words. And like Mr.
Uh,
Hutchinson said, just because you have a conviction of something doesn't mean that you're right.
In this point, is your position.
Likewise.
Because the town doesn't have a big surplus, that we should pay everybody less.
No, that's not my conviction at all.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying is, if you're comparing comparable towns, you might want to look at how much money the town has that you're comparing to our town, which doesn't have a whole lot of money. That seems to be a valid comparison to me.
So the city of Camden shouldn't pay its administration very much money because they're broke.
I'm saying you shouldn't compare Camden to Cherry Hill, is what I'm saying. So don't twist my words.
I'm trying to.
I'm saying you should compare comparable with comparable. If Cherry Hill has a $30 million surplus, I'm simply stating maybe it's not comparable to Gloucester Township that only has a $3 million surplus. That's all I'm saying.
They have-
Don't take it, don't twist it, don't turn it
they have a
around. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, the comparisons between Cherry Hill and Gloucester Township are very good comparisons because they have similar numbers of residents.
Yes, I understand that, but they also have a $30 million surplus and we do not. They don't have to worry about paying money like we do. We have to be a little bit more concerned than they do. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
close the public hearing. We have, ordinance, let me just recap. Ordinance 0-22-25, ordinance fixing the compensation of officers and employees of the township of Gloucester and the county of Camden. I entertain a motion.
I'm gonna make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is our consent agenda. Any council member would like to have any items removed, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Resolution 359, resolution to make budget transfers between appropriations in the calendar year 2022 general fund budget.
I entertain a motion. There's a second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes, we have a few GTE Gov access emails. First one's from Keith Gibbons, Blackwood Estates. Happy holidays. Thank you for answering my questions last meeting on the topic of township employee overtime. This is very enlightening and helpful information which can help with misinformation spread by many residents around this topic. I myself was under the impression of different facts about overtime in Gloucester Township, hence seeking the answers. However, it was stated that the current overtime cost as percentage of the overall payroll cost was 4.2% 4.55%. When asked for the backup documents arriving at this calculation to be provided to me without submitting an open request, it was stated that this information does not exist. Unfortunately, both of these answers cannot be true. Either the 4.55% is an arbitrary number, or the documentation supporting the amount calculating the 4.55% does exist. This was more than likely an oversight, as I did ask for this information for a calculation that was not able to be provided, as we learned that this has been a practice since the late 1970s as well. I would imagine the documentation for the current 4.55% does exist. I'm asking for a second time for this information to be emailed. Is that possible? Thank you and have a happy new year. We spoke to our Human Resource Manager, Carla Jeppe, says yes, but this should go through the Oprah process, Mr. Gibbons, for that calculation. And yes, this was a two-part question and was answered that this information does not exist, likely pertaining to the first part of the question regarding information from the 1970s. So her suggestion is that that Oprah request can be filed with the clerk's office. This is from Denise Coyne, 1060 Choose Landing Road. How much money did Millbridge Gardens Apartments pay to Gloucester Township and municipal property tax during the calendar year 2021 and to date for 2022? And under what owner names are the municipal taxes paid for Millbridge Gardens Apartments? I answer the second one, SDK Millbridge Gardens LLC. That is the name. And for the tax year 2021, $1,348,541.32. And for tax year 2022, $1,382,597.08. Another email from Denise Coyne, 1060 Choose Landing Road. Does Gloucester Township have a code of ethics or code of conduct that sets forth specific expectations for the behavior of public officials relating to dealing with members of the public? If so, please identify the document or documents. And two, please provide an explanation of why the draft for the Villages of Gloucester amended redevelopment plan has not been finalized. I'll answer the second one first. We're focused on the Blackwood West redevelopment plan and focused on Blackwood West. As you know, we have a 5-year MPP grant for Blackwood West. So a lot of the efforts from the Community Development Department planning is geared towards that area. It is still a living document. Yes, we have paid for it. And there are aspects of it that we will move forward with, but it's still a living document. It's just not sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Let me go to her first part of the question, code of ethics or code. Let me see where do I have it. Okay, here. Resolution 002 from 2022, it's actually up on the board there, outlines the rules of order and conduct during the regular session and council meetings, and employees and elected officials are also subject to compliance with New Jersey Local Government Ethics Act. And do I have another one? Oh, okay. And one from Sam Sweet, 18 Elizabeth Place, Ariel. If a company violates the non-fair contract rules, does that preclude them from doing business with the township? Mr. Conrad?
This is the second time that question has come in from Mr. Sweet. What I said before is that's not a question that really can be answered in one sentence. If a company violates a non-fair contract rules, the statute talks about fair and open contracts. The statute in New Jersey talks about fair and open contracts or contracts that are put out for bid for professionals. If you're talking about professionals, Gloucester Township has a policy that professionals are exempt from doing bids, but Gloucester Township by its ordinance requires all professionals to submit bids for their contracts. So when you submit a bid for contracts, a lot of the exceptions under the statute apply. When you're talking about a non-fair and open contract, that contract's awarded without going out for bid. And it really addresses when you have professionals, engineers, or people of that nature that are exempt from the open or the exempt from bidding. This township requires all of them to be submitted for bid. So I'm not sure exactly what's being addressed here. When you talk about also a non-fair and open contract, you're talking about a cap on how much that person can earn. I believe from memory is 17,500. Then if they earn more than that, a lot of the regulations kick in as far as contributions and campaign contributions and all that. That's the purpose of that statute. So what I said perhaps a month ago is that's not a question that can be answered in a general form. It should be specific, addressing perhaps Mr. Sweet feels there's a contractor that's violating the regulations. Well, that should be made known. That's how the question should be put to get a fair answer.
Thank you, Mr. Carlemare. We'll now open up the second public portion. This is for any item that any member of the audience would like to address. The speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. And there's 30 minutes total for the public portion. Anyone wish to speak on the public portion? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I was here a few months ago,
I
I'm
need
here
your
all
name,
the
please,
time.
again.
Pardon?
I need your name, please.
Oh, Bonita Morrison, call me Joy, I'm from La Cascada. Okay, so I called the tax office several times this year. For 4 years, we've been trying to get into the tax certificate sale, okay? I called the tax office asking, how do I register for this sale? All year long. I get bounced from one phone to the other, I can't get a straight answer. I even came here and asked, how do I get in the tax sale? We'll call you, no phone call. I call back there, I call here, I call there. Do better. We need to do better. We're a community that's trying to help senior citizens and disadvantaged people to stay in their homes. We can't do it if we can't get into the tax sale. We have outsiders buying into the tax sale certificates, and then years down the road, they're foreclosing. Once it's in foreclosure, pardon me, we can't do anything. Okay, we have to get the tax certificate up front, or we are forced to buy it aftermarket from the investor, which is going to cost us, a little bit more, but it's more of a pain in the butt because now you have to sit down and negotiate. Okay, so all I'm asking is that access to the tax sale certificate site should be a little bit more plain so that the average old person, such as myself, can go onto the Gloucester Township website and go into the tax office and say, okay, click here to register. It's buried in a letter, it's buried here, it's buried there. Believe me, after 4 years, I finally found it. Okay, so now I know where it is, but I feel that as a tax office and as a taxpayer, Gloucester Township can do better with letting the people know here's how you register. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bonita. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Rosemary Amesbury, 527 East Blenheim Avenue, Blackwood. I'm here tonight to supporters to thank you for letting us, it's for pickleball, for letting us play pickleball for the past 7 years at the rec center, letting us host it, and for recognizing the need for dedicated pickleball courts in our town based on the growth of the sport.
Is there a way you could bring down that
That's what I was
microphone?
thinking, yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. I'm not going to repeat. I think it was, people spoke last session about the benefits of it. So I'm not going to reiterate that, but there are many benefits of playing pickleball, and our township really needs to step up to get to where it has to be with other townships. And we appreciate that you've done that, and it's in the planning. I'm just going to add to it. I think there was a suggestion of lining pickleball tennis courts for pickleball. I'm just going to say, as a pickleball player, that's really not such a viable option. I've played at Point Aerial Park where they have the lines already there. You're playing with tennis nets, not pickleball nets. you're running into problems. You'll have issues with tennis players wanting to know why pickleball players are on the courts. There's nobody monitoring that. There's nobody there to put pickleball nets out. Matter of fact, in other counties, I know there was a problem too. It went as far as to have tennis players sign a petition to have actually dedicated pickleball courts because they are tired of the pickleball players taking up the tennis courts because they line them. So I just wanted to add that to that. And I do have other people here that are willing to speak to in regards to the pickleball courts.
Can I ask you a couple of questions regarding Point Aerial Park and the condition of that surface there? Is it adequate, inadequate? Do you believe, you talked about the striping there and the nets and everything, but can you tell me about your experience there at that point?
Well, my experience there is just that for me, the biggest part was you're playing with tennis nets and it's asphalt, I believe, right? It's not the court surface that you normally play on. And the nets for me was the main thing, and the issue of people wanting to come and play tennis, and you're playing pickleball. Why are you playing pickleball on tennis courts? Is your question. So I don't think I think it's inadequate for pickleball. I think it's inadequate. I think it's not viable to even consider that on any of the courts in the township.
Travis, show of hands. Are you all pickleballers here? So this is the Friday contingent over at the rec center.
Yeah.
So this is gained attraction and following over the last 5 years.
7 years. I mean, it started out in Gloucester Township. I think it started out with maybe, I want to say 200 players, and it's grown. The whole sport has just grown. In fact, I had South Jersey Pickleball League Association. She's going to explain more about how it's grown and what's involved and why townships, including Gloucester Township, need to get on board with it, and that we're grateful that that's being done.
How do you feel with the council person saying we can't afford to build pickleball and the rest of the people are struggling with taxes? How do you reconcile?
I mean, I'm a pickleball player, so I think I pay taxes for things I shouldn't be paying taxes for too. So I'm kind of going to be on that maybe biased side. Is like, I think that there's a great need for it. I think there's benefits of that. There's benefits for all ages. They're using it, pickleball in the school curriculum now for gym, networking. There's a lot of benefits for pickleball, and I just think that, I mean, I'm partial to it. I'm going to say if I'm going to be paying taxes and it's not affordable, then I want it to be put towards pickleball. You know,
And that's what we as a council have to deal with, you know, the allocation of tax money to different things.
I think also when you look at the numbers of people involved in pickleball, I think that speaks volumes too, as far as allocating, you know, where the money's going. It's a large group of people, you know, that it's going to. It's going to be using it.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Charlie Kirschner. Rosemary asked me to come.
Can I have your address, Mr. Kirschner?
At 323 Colonial Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. I've been on the Recreation Committee for many years in Deptford. The mayor asked me to start a pickleball program about 4 years ago. I called this lady, Denise Donald. She sent me 2 instructors. We started with 7 people. You asked, what do you say? I'm here to tell you, it's been a huge plus in the Deptford Township because of pickleball. We started with 7. And this is just Deptford residents. We have 153 active over 55 people playing in our program. They play 5 days a week. We're right now inside at our rec center, just like you have a rec center. But the mayor and council put in 8 courts in our main park. And when we did that, after that, the program exploded. But the benefit is to all of your residents. That's the key, because these well, over 55. We did run a kids program this year also, which was very successful in the summer. It's the social aspect. It's the not just the exercise, the camaraderie, the people that didn't know each other that lived down the street. I hear that you're so large of a township. I think you're much larger than Deptford Township. It is a huge benefit to our township. That's why Rosemary wanted me to come. She's participated in my program because of Denise Donald that runs all of South Jersey. It is a huge win all the way around. And I'm speaking as a resident of that township. I also help out on the recreation committee. It is a monster plus because of all those aspects and the good nature that comes through from these people participating in activity that they didn't even know they could do. Because you don't need to be, just so you know, you can be heavy, you can be short like me, you don't have to be tall and athletic. And if the ball goes there, you say, okay, I missed that one, okay? Because it is fun. And they're not sitting in front of their TVs or on their computers sending emails to you guys. They are out playing a game and participating in something that is making them feel good about themselves. And I think you said about something about your last park. I have not been at that park. We have seen parks where they just transferred things. And what would be the benefit and how can we spend the money? Because people want to do stuff. They've been sitting in their homes because of the pandemic and all. They're looking for something. And if you promote it, they will come. And it's just it's a great activity for the walker or the runner. So.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Dan.
Pickleball sneaks.
Yeah, the pickleball sneaks.
Dan,
I'll be out
please.
there. Goodness, do I think Charlie's a bit misaligned with his comments to the citizens who take time to email council and come here to speak to council. Because I think it is incredibly important and helps build the community that people do that. I'm not exactly sure why the pickleball lobby is here tonight. It's a done deal. We're going to spend $450,000. President Mercado was clear that we don't have the intention of trying to save those monies by striping tennis courts. And so I guess you're welcome. The taxpayers will be fronting the new tennis courts and parking lots. That being said, my understanding is that there's 11 courts, 6 outside, 5 inside, that are not being utilized at 100%. So that was the basis for a lot of the citizens who came here and asked if there was the potential to save money looking at alternative options. So I just want to make that clear. It didn't have to do with we have anything against pickleball. It had to do with the utilization rate of the courts we already have is not at 100% or based on at least observational data, not approaching 100% utilization. So the question was why? I do.
wasn't here for that meeting. You're saying the observation data. What?
Multiple, the point aerial is the park that was brought up, and I believe it was Mr. Cardis who said that it was being underutilized because I think it was Joe D'Amico the meeting before, and then myself had asked about whether or not we could save money by relining. And they said that had been tried at point aerial, but no one was playing at point aerial. So then my question was, if we already have a park with 2 pickleball courts that are not being utilized, why are we going to go out and build a couple of brand new pickleball courts? And I think
when I was a kid, we used to play street hockey have, because we invested in the hockey rink complexes down
Lakeland.
in Lakeland, we got over 700 kids now in those rinks. So maybe if you build it appropriately.
They will come.
I just agree with that.
Well, I would, if you were to tell me that the utilization rate is at 90% and rapidly approaching 100%, I could understand that. But at least now, this is all new to me. I haven't been keeping up with the pickleball community, but that doesn't seem, based on what I've heard, that doesn't seem to be the situation. And the fact that they have both indoor and outdoor options seems more than sufficient. And then to the point that was made by the gentleman last week with regard to pickleball, he said that they're incredible fundraisers to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, fantastic. Could you fundraise $400,000 for new pickleball courts so that it doesn't have to fall to the citizen taxpayer?
I think the installation of these pickleball courts is going to be more than maybe similar to what they do at Ariel or some of the other different sports complexes. Maybe fundraising efforts can be created to assist in the preservation of it, beautify it, whatever. Okay, but I can tell you, Paul, that I'm contacted constantly by constituents in this town saying, hey, we're going to other towns to utilize their pickleball courts. So if you have a chance to play on a beautiful soccer field or beautiful tennis courts in the adjoining town, the adjacent town, you're going to do that as opposed to going to play on, inferior courts. You got to admit that you would do that. I mean, we used to do that as a kid with basketball courts. If they didn't have nets on the rims, we didn't want to play there. We went over to the apps and played.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Thank you, Mr. Crew.
Thank you.
Mr. Burns.
Good evening, Council. Brian Burns, 5 Slugwood Drive, Ariel. Once again, I'm here to check on the Rossi. Mr. Petrangelo was not here this evening. At the last meeting, I believe Mr. Carter said in 2 weeks is going to be turned into Green Acres. Has that occurred?
It has already been turned into Green Acres.
All right, that's great news. And in regard,
My understanding is they'll review it.
right, I
They're
understand.
going to send it back to us for a final review, and then we send it back to them for approval.
I got you. So I'm aware of that process. So I just want to say I am happy for the pickleball people. I'm not one of them. Maybe one day I will be. I'm here to advocate for open space. So the township is spending close to $500,000 for pickleball. And yet here we are finally a year in the progress of getting a Rossi where we can preserve 100 acres of Green Acres, Gloucester Township land, one continuous tract of land for just about $0. And how many people can enjoy those 100 acres? 75% Green Acres, 25% Office of Natural Resource Restoration. The only thing the township pays for, as far as I know, is a survey, the processing of the deeds. So make that comparison. How many people can enjoy that 100 acres of Gloucester Township open space? That would be amazing. And I feel for the homeowners who have signed a contract, whose contract has expired. And hopefully they're still going to be in on the deal. To me, it's like whatever your favorite dessert is, it's on sale at half price or free, but you have to take advantage of it. So, I've been in touch with Jesse. Jesse is the Camden County representative of Green Acres. And I'm tracking her. I said, please review this thing. Let's get it back. Let's get this deal done. If the township had been on the ball with the Rossi and up to date with the Rossi, we probably could have had these properties acquired already. So just put that in your noggins. $500,000 of pickleball courts, 100 acres preserved for just about nothing. That's amazing. And there really is very few undeveloped tracts of land left in Gloucester Township. And this is an incredible property. It's got wetlands, it's got a beaver population, it's got wild trout. There's nothing else like it. There's nothing else.
Enjoy it though, like we did. I got 50 ticks on me.
It's just, I know, it's just part of our township's natural resource heritage. Okay? And if you had seen the videos, I'm sure many of you have, you haven't seen the videos, you heard of the zoning board meeting regarding the freeway golf course. There were standing room only in this room. And those people were not only against the warehouses, they were for open space. So keep that in mind. So it's, I will be in touch with Green Acres. I want to keep on advocating for this thing. Hopefully it's going to come back, whatever minor revisions need to be made, and we can get this thing done. And a year from now, we won't be saying what is the status of the Murray property and the Hayes property. We'll be celebrating that Gloucester Township has taken the steps to preserve, a continuous tract of land, which between what has already been preserved, the HOA of Little Mill, the Murray and the Hayes property, almost 200 acres. Well, this is, when we're all not here, what will be our legacy? That we asphalted over everything in Gloucester Township? Or do we recognize the importance of our natural resources, pure water, outdoor recreational spaces for people to have passive recreation, enjoy wildlife, do wildlife photography, do some fishing, do some hiking. Are we leaving that behind for our children? And it is, and it's incredibly important. It has to be done. We went to Blueberry Hill today over in Gisborough, and that is an amazing. Gisborough is almost 20% of their land mass has been preserved. Absolutely admirable as far as I'm concerned. So, I'm just trying to do my part. When the time comes, I'm not here. My grandchildren can go to this land and say, my dad and the township council who was there preserved this space, and it's preserved forever. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Ms. Smithman?
Hi, good evening, council. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on Millbrook Court, apartment 341. Once again, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak as often as you have through the year 2022. I really appreciate it. I've had a lot of different experiences. I was hoping to just convey different ideas that might be helpful for the Southern New Jersey, Camden County, Gloucester Township area. One of the comments from somebody in the community that emails quite often, it was something about the rules of order for the council meetings. Sometimes you can't always be as respectful as it asks. It asks for silence, everybody to not speak up. But when Ms. Coyne came up, she forgot to say her name and her address. And I wanted to shout out, but I've yelled before and I seem to have gotten scolded.
And I appreciate you didn't shout out.
Right, but that was important. And something that may not seem important could be, I've been interrupted and I've interrupted other people, and we're people. That's what this platform is for everybody to communicate. It doesn't always come in the standard function, but sometimes rules need to bend for situations like that. I always appreciated the leniency of this council. So thank you. I'll speak quickly if I could once again, because I think it's very important for the community as someone that grew up here, for things that people might want to communicate, especially children or people that may not have a direct access to the municipality, for the street signs to have placed on them, the address for the local police and the local fire department, with a picture to indicate what they are for people that cannot read, in Braille for people that cannot see, and in raised or recessed writing for people that cannot write. If you place it on every street sign, it'll always be there for them. They'll know where it is. They won't have to remember it. They'll know where to look if they're out of town. or in a different town. For the mind, that's a comfort zone. I grew up pretty much as a municipal child. My biggest support I've always known was the local municipality, the public works. The mailman came, the trash man came, picked things up. I mean, those were steadfast. If it wasn't for those things and being aware of the local police and the local fire, it would have been a very different experience. When I did finally break down with my mind, it could have been a lot worse. So we don't always have family to depend on, even when we have family. Things are what we make of them, I guess. So thank you for allowing me to speak up this year. Hopefully you'll allow more people to speak, so I'll just say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ms. Smith. Anyone else would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, council. My name is Denise Donald. I'm afraid to say that I live in Cherry Hill and I don't know anything about your salaries. I'm the president of South Jersey Pickleball. So I started pickleball here in Cherry Hill, actually, with about 7 women and a roll of masking tape. And that was about 2013. Right now, we're over 5,000 members. And we have courts all over. We have courts in Hainesport, we have courts in Cherry Hill, we have courts in Sewell, we have courts in Moorestown, we have courts in Runnymede, we have courts in, I could even make 13 different, Chemung, Medford, all these different places we have courts now. And how can you not? You said, how can we spend the money? How can you not spend the money? This is the most fabulous sport in the world. Anybody can play. We have a 9-year-old who plays with his father and his grandfather. I have an 87-year-old who plays. You can be any age, you can be any shape, any size, and it's fun. We're not about drama. So that's like, do want to hear a lot of arguments against us, but it's more just about fun and community. So these people come out, they've retired, or they've had some other thing in their life happen, which I do want to have you hear somebody else speak after me. It just changes their lives. They have nothing to do. They have no point in their life anymore, and they come out and they meet a new family. That they're social, they're sitting around in their chairs, they're listening to music, they're talking about the Phillies, the Flyers, the recipes, getting Mahjong groups together. I mean, it's just a very tight community. The sport, you're outside, you're learning something new, you're getting exercise, you're laughing. These are all good things for the whole human body. And the insurance companies have now found that it's so good that I have Element 3 Health, which is part of United Healthcare, is giving us $1 every time one of our players plays, up to $10 a month per player, because they realize how good it is for their health. It's mentally too. I mean, with COVID, the sport really took off because it was something you could do outside. And they're still outside playing. If you go to Pennsauken right now, you'll see in 30-degree weather, you'll see 26 people out there playing and another 30 on their wait list. I'm inside right now in Moorestown Tennis Club, but again, I had 45 players this morning. We had 45 players before that session, and we still had 30 on each wait list. The numbers are just growing like crazy, and we need places to put these people. And it's good. It's good for the community. You build it, they will come. The reason you don't want to put these on a tennis court is because, one, if you use a tennis net, you have to walk a huge distance to go get the ball every time you lose it. The net is a different height. In pickleball, you can hit around the net. You can't do that because the net is much shorter than the tennis net. That's one of the reasons you don't want dual use them. We had a problem in Berlin, it's another place, with the tennis courts, and I went to the county and I said, can we have dedicated pickleball time? And they said, no, you need a waiver, you need an insurance, you need a permit. Well, we'll waive all of that if you'll just sign and say nobody's going to sue us. Well, we just signed up on an app. I don't know who's coming. I said, can't do that. They said, how about if we take this hockey rink then and we build you 5 courts there? So they did. And this is a county park. So I know the county has grants. I know there's open space grants. I know there's COVID relief grants. So all the money doesn't have to come necessarily from the taxpayers. So I mean, there are other ways to get that money. So, but thank you for listening to my spiel. And can I introduce Pat to you?
Well, we have after the meeting, because we have people that have raised their hands to speak. Mr. Sweet, you'll be our last speaker of the evening. Sorry, Ms. Briggs, we have 30 minutes allotted. Unless Mr. Sweet wants to give up his time to Ms. Briggs.
I'll make this quick. Just a few questions. On the capital budget, there's $75,000 allotted for an aerial indoor batting facility. Where are we with that?
Ms. Cars.
I think we put more money into the upcoming budget that we're working on now. So we're trying to do something a little bit better than what that 75 would cover.
So that 75 we borrowed for is gonna roll over and we're adding more?
I believe we're putting more into this budget.
You believe or
You don't have a budget for.
No, I mean, we're going to do that? You believe that or we are going to do that?
I'm pretty certain, but I'd have to look at the budget.
Okay.
How it would.
All right, Mr. Mercado, I sent you some information that you requested. Have you had a chance to look into it?
I followed up. I have not given you the answers yet.
Okay, would you like the other ones that I went through and send them to you? Because,
You're going to, or you did send them?
no, I didn't send them. Would you like me to send these? Because
Yes, please.
a 2021 boiler for Public Works, we borrowed 300,000, it's not been done yet. 2018 new roof for the town hall, not done, but yet in 2019, we decided to recoat that roof. And that was 25,000, both of those, and then we spent only 15, so. And then we had the gun range and the new building for the gun range, and assuming that those are correct, and also 2 3-yard dump trucks, which were pretty spot on. But assuming that the gun range and the gun range interior are correct, we overborrowed by 52%. You couple that with the 82% of the stuff I gave you. I also requested 7 more items. It's pretty apparent that the administration is overborrowing and council's not looking into it. So in the coming year, when the capital budget comes out, so I don't stand up here for an hour or keep walking back and forth every 5 minutes, could we look into those, the overborrowing?
You can look into that.
Okay, and then my last question is, we borrowed close to $545,000 for parks, which is fine. I'm fine with that per se, but there was only 3 parks, so each park averaged about 180,000. And is it now that we're now putting the rubber mulch down in all these parks for Gloucester Township? Because that appears to what it is. We're getting 2 invoices.
We always put rubber mulch in with the.
Rubber mulch was not put down on the Brittany Woods Park. That park only cost $34,000 back in 17. I don't think prices have increased.
17, we didn't put the.
17, you put a park down in the Brittany Woods Park, but it was only $34,000. So have prices increased that much from 34,000 to 185?
Yeah, I'm pricing it out based on the estimates.
But so have prices increased in 5 years from 34,000 to 185, 213 for the Glendora Park?
I can't control prices.
I'm asking if those prices have increased that much because I just don't understand how we spent 34,000 on the Brittany Woods Park and now we're spending 180,000 on these parks coming in. Got 5 years at sea. I know.
Rubber mulch? You're talking about rubber mulch.
I'm talking about the park itself.
Okay, so, all right, so you're confusing folks here, or trying to confuse folks.
No,
because
no.
The mulch, we're talking about the mulch. What is the mulch costing?
The mulch is about 90,000. The park itself is about 90,000. So on the capital projects, we're budgeting 180,000. So if we take the 90,000 for the park and the 90,000 for the rubber mulch, it's $180,000. We never put rubber mulch down before.
So I'm gonna ask Mr. Cars if you can get the rubber mulch price from the Brittany Woods Playground from 2017. You can provide that to us, rather than guessing. I don't want anyone guessing on numbers here. Okay?
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Ms. Briggs, you are our last speaker.
Thank you. Roxanne Briggs at 5 Cascada. I don't want to put Mr. Cordis on the spot. The last meeting, you were going to give me a call regarding bulk trash? And I know it's the holidays and I know you'll get back to me in January.
Yeah, I did find out though that they supposedly they're going through there on Tuesdays with a truck with two people in the back of that truck. Because it is dumpsters. There are dumpsters in there.
Right.
And on Tuesdays, they go around and they pick up all the bulk items.
But I was told it was only electronics and appliances.
No, I was told that I talked to Kevin Bucciaroni today,
That's good.
and Kevin said that they're picking up everything, mattresses.
Okay, so if we call, then we'll get a bulk pickup.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're doing it on a schedule Tuesday.
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
I'll have Kevin monitor it also. He can also go through there. If we have issues, we can get him out.
Okay, now we also have problems. He told me when I spoke to him, he comes through every Monday. The last 2 weeks, we've got orders. Anything that's on the ground is picked up. Old furniture, small furniture is broken up, that kind of stuff. But our dumpsters were not emptied Friday. They weren't emptied Monday, and we were overflowing all over by today where they picked them up. So if we could have a few more dumpsters in some areas, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I did talk to him about that also because he's aware you were requesting that. But
Yeah.
He said he didn't know where they could locate with dumpsters.
Can I have one of our board members contact him?
Yes.
Because we're in the process of redoing the areas too. We want to get them off the main road and get them into the courts because we're having dumping issues too.
Yeah, I can provide you.
That's perfect.
There's no,
And I'll see you next meeting. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs. For the second public portion, polling of directors,
Mr. Bellemere?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Marquez?
Just want to wish everybody a happy new year, safe new year.
Mr. Chavo?
nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Thank you very much for coming. For those of you who are coming here for the first time, you'll see a lot of spirited debate that goes back and forth. Most oftentimes, I will meet with those individuals in the parking lot, and I'll talk to them on a daily basis on the cell phone. And the rule that I have is, hey, you come up to that microphone, you no hold bar. We're not friends. You say whatever you want to say, and give it to me. I'm gonna give it back. So, thank you very much for coming. Have a wonderful one.
I just like to say, we invite you all out to learn how to play pickleball. And then you will be addicted and you will get, that's how it happens. Thank you all. Thank you.
Ms. Grace?
Thank you all for coming out tonight and have a wonderful, wonderful, safe new year.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes, I did take one pickleball lesson and I really liked it. I was not good, but it inspired me to want to do more. I'm a golfer, but I intend to be a pickleball player once we get our courts in. And I believe you gave me one lesson. I remembered you.
Where was it?
It was last year. And I think it was over in Voorhees.
And to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
nice.
I really enjoyed it and I was terrible, but I liked it. And it was right after I fractured my elbow.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't do so well.
Program.
But I'm healthy now, so I can
If you're over
possibly do
65
it.
in Camden County, you can come along for free.
And one other thing that was said, it is hard to get people to work these days. I don't know if you even go out to the supermarket, sometimes you can't, and restaurants and all the places that you shop. It's very hard to find people that are willing to work because of the money that they're offering. So you have to offer more money to get people of quality to do the jobs. The bottom line is, I always say this, and I would encourage you to say the same thing to people. Thank you for working. And it puts a big smile on somebody's face when you say that to them, whether it's the waiter or even the chef. I've even said, can the chef come out here? I just want to thank him for working because he was great. And it was at Capone's. It wasn't any place fancy. Just say that to people and you would be surprised at the goodwill that you're spreading when you say that. And hopefully more people will want to work because they're appreciated. And have a good new year. Thank you for coming.
Mrs. Winters?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I'm sure everyone is safe, happy, and healthy.
Mr. Mignon?
Thank you all for coming. Yeah, we live in a time of great resignation. You think it's hard finding jobs, you should try to get healthcare. We are struggling big time. We can't find nurses or any ancillary departments. And also, I know Mr. Burns stepped out, and I wanted to say, that's the beauty of America. We all have different legacies that we want to leave behind. Some may want the Green Acres, some may want the pickleball, and that's okay. That's why we're here. We talk about it. Can't please everybody. We do the best that we can. Everybody have a happy new year. Be safe going home. And we'll be back out here next week. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Next Tuesday, January 3rd, we have reorganization here at 6:00 p.m. That's a reorganization of our government. That takes place again here at Council Chambers at 6:00, January 3rd. After a 3-year absence, Martin Luther King Day of Service returns back to our township. That takes place. The kickoff event is 9:00 at C.W. Lewis School. There are 20+ projects throughout the town where we ask volunteers to sign up. The last time we had Martin Luther King Day in January of 2020, we had 804 volunteers. So if you're interested in participating in worthwhile activities that day, it's usually from 9 to 12. There's a program at C.W. Lewis, and then at 10:00, we go off to our different projects throughout the township. It's on the township's website on glowtwip.com. You can submit your request up to 3, and depending on availability, you'll be assigned a project for that particular day. So I hope all of you that are in attendance today express interest in participating. We do need some project leaders. So if you have some time that day, you're more than welcome to be a project leader, express that interest. With that, I wish all of you a happy new year and a prosperous new year. We'll see you in 2023. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone.